Tales of Tanorio just dropped on Roblox, and overall, it's a pretty good game. But in this video, I'm going to be reviewing what Tales of Tanorio has to offer and telling you whether or not it's worth you playing. Anyways, without further ado, let's get right into it. Tales of Tanorio is a pretty popular turn-based RPG game on Roblox, being fairly similar to Lumion Legacy and Pokemon Brick Bronze. But Tales of Tanorio is pretty unique due to the amount of quality that it has. Now, not to say that Pokemon Brick Bronze and Lumion Legacy did not have quality, but just by the background footage that you guys are seeing right now, Tales of Tanorio has excellent cutscene quality and overall pretty good model quality as well. Now, I'd say that they totally fit their style that they're going for extremely well. Everything looks really well fleshed out, and the world is fairly interactable. Now, let me say that I've not played through all of what Tales of Tanorio has to offer, and I'm going to be keeping the background footage fairly spoiler free, so that way you guys don't get spoiled in case you guys haven't played it as well. Now, another thing that I've noticed throughout playing Tales of Tanorio is that it's not exactly as upbeat as a normal Pokemon game. For example, Tales of Tanorio starts out with you being in a pretty bad financial situation, and that's why you have to go out on this journey in the first place, is to be able to basically escape debt. Now, I find this is a pretty funny way of starting the game, being fairly similar to Animal Crossing and other games that involve escaping debt, but it is pretty good to start it off. It gives you a good incentive to actually start your journey, and it gives you a fairly good route to go along starting it. Now, overall, the journey is pretty good, giving you like 8, I think, battle theaters you can go to, although at this point only 2 of them have actually been released. So it is going to be a pretty long game, but overall, with what's released right now, I'd say it already has a good amount of content. Now, going into what content Tales of Tanorio has, I think it's pretty crucial that we actually look at whether or not this content is good quality or not. So the content that it currently has out is 2 gyms or 2 battle theaters. I don't know what they're called. Now, there is going to be 8 of these, so we have a quarter of the game around there done at this point. So that is pretty cool. But alongside this, there's already things like legendary Tanorians and shiny Tanorians in the game. So it does have a lot of content. And now, just over on YouTube, on the YouTube side of things, there is already people making a ton of cool videos about this game, basically playing it in a ton of different ways. Now, I'd say that Tales of Tanorio has a pretty high replayability value, basically being able to allow you to do things like Nuzlocks. And Nuzlocks, if you don't know, only allow you to use a Pokemon or a Tanorian once, and if they faint or die, it's basically game over. You can't use them again. Now, Tales of Tanorio lets you do this as well, and a lot of people have already started doing this. But as for the content that's in the game that you can actually play its intended way, like the intended way that developers made, there isn't a ton right now. There's a good couple hours of story-based content and a good couple hours of like content that's just in the game. But once you beat the 2 theaters that the story has for you right now, there's not a ton to do. As I said, there is legendary Tanorians and other things like shinies, but outside of that, you're not going to be getting a ton of like content that's really new stuff or groundbreaking stuff. And I really hope they kind of change this in the future just to give us something that's more replayable. But I'm not going to fault the game too much for that, because at the moment it's only about 3 or 4 days old. Now, going into the characters of Tales of Tanorio, I'd say they kind of nailed the characters at this point. And there's honestly a lot of like interesting and diverse characters in this, which I think is kind of a problem with Pokemon. They tend to not really give you like diverse personalities, and a lot of the characters feel more the same. Now, in this game, a lot of the characters are fairly different from each other, and they honestly express their own interests very well. For example, you have characters that are more into battling, or characters that are more into research. Now, each character has their own motivations, and the story kind of rolls with this. The story is mainly caused by the characters and not really caused by the developers. And what I mean to say by this is that the story all flows very naturally through its characters, and I feel like Tales of Tanorio does this exceptionally. Now, on to the final part of this review that I have planned, map design. So, how good are Tales of Tenorio's map designs? As I mentioned a little bit in the intro of this video, I think the maps are insanely high quality. I'll show you guys some cutscenes right about now, but as you guys can see, the cutscenes make the maps look even better than they already are. I'd say overall Tales of Tanorio keeps it consistent with how the maps look. They don't have it change a ton. For example, in Pokemon and other games like this, you may have like a desert that borders like a snow area, for example, and Tales of Tanorio doesn't do this. They keep all their maps fairly similar, but that's not a bad thing in the slightest. I think that all their maps, I think keeping them similar is honestly a better thing, because keeping them similar means keeping them all really good. So I think Tales of Tenorio's maps are a 10 out of 10, and I think that is probably the best part of their entire game at the moment, so I would definitely want them to keep up with that. Now, in this last part, I'll be going as an overview and summary. So overall, I think Tales of Tanorio is an amazing game and definitely worth you guys playing. Now, is it going to replace Brick Bronze and other games like that on this platform? I don't think it will. I mean, I think it will replace Lumion Legacy, but I think Brick Bronze will kind of stay up and active just due to the nostalgia. But I think Tales of Tanorio, honestly, even though it may not replace some of these games, it gives us a new era of these games, and I think that's super important. So I think Tales of Tanorio is really putting Roblox in a new direction that we've never seen before, and I think overall it's very exciting to see what can be done with all these new Roblox games, and I think this may be the first quality game we've gotten in a long time. So I'm very excited to see how the developers go about this and what new updates they are eventually going to give us. And yeah, anyways, I hope you guys all enjoy your time in Tales of Tanorio. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. Have a wonderful day. It's me, Mr. Mugma, signing off. Goodbye.